3 years before Jack the Ripper terrified London, a killer was already stalking the streets of a quiet American town, and almost no one remembers his name because he never gave one. For a full year, he moved through the moonlit streets of Austin, Texas, striking without warning and vanishing without a trace. The city called him the Servant Girl Annihilator. He was never caught. He was never identified. And when the killings stopped, he simply walked out of history and left a town too frightened to say his name. The year was 1884. Austin was a growing frontier capital. Dirt streets, clapboard houses, gas lamps just beginning to glow on the corners. In the homes of the well-off, young women worked as live-in servants, often sleeping in small quarters behind the main house. It was one of those women who became the first victim. In the dead of night, an intruder crossed a dark backyard and attacked her where she slept. The town was horrified, but at first they told themselves it was a single, terrible crime, a one-time tragedy. It was not. Weeks passed. Then it happened again. Another servant. Another dark yard, another attack in the quiet hours before dawn. And the killer left the same unsettling signature each time. He struck at night, near the servants' quarters, and slipped back into the dark before anyone could raise the alarm. The police were overwhelmed. This was decades before forensic science. No fingerprints, no profiling, just boot prints in the dirt that led into the dark and disappeared. As the attacks continued through the year, a terrible realization spread through Austin. This wasn't a feud, or a robbery, or a crime of passion. Someone was hunting. Panic took hold of the city. Families who employed servants were terrified, not just for themselves, but for the young women in their care. Servant women began refusing to sleep alone. They walked home in groups at dusk, glancing over their shoulders at every shadow. Men formed armed patrols. Every lamp in the city burned late, and still the killer kept coming, as if the whole town's fear was no obstacle at all. The newspapers fed the terror. A young writer living in Austin at the time, who would later become famous under the pen name O. Henry, gave the killer the grim nickname that stuck: the Servant Girl Annihilator, a name born of dark humor and real horror for a man no one could see. The police made arrests. They rounded up suspects, drifters, laborers, men who happened to be out late. The city wanted a villain badly, but every case fell apart. The evidence was thin, the accusations driven more by panic than proof. Innocent men were dragged into the light while the real killer stayed in the dark. And then the pattern shifted. As the year turned toward Christmas of 1885, the violence escalated, and it reached beyond the servants' quarters into the homes of prominent families. On a single terrible night, the city was struck twice, in 2 different neighborhoods. It was as if the killer wanted Austin to know he could go anywhere, reach anyone. That Christmas season broke something in the city. The fear became total. Austin was a town under siege by a ghost. Detectives worked the connections obsessively. They mapped the attacks across the city, looking for the center of the web, a route, a rhythm, a home base. But the crimes were scattered in a way that defied logic. Different neighborhoods, different victims, no trail that led back to a single door. And then silent. After that brutal Christmas, the attacks simply stopped. No final crime, no confession, no arrest. The Servant Girl Annihilator was never heard from in Austin again. The killings ended as mysteriously as they had begun. So who was he? For nearly a century and a half, people have tried to answer that. Some believed it was a local man, someone who lived among his victims and knew the city's dark corners intimately, and who was quietly run out of town or dealt with off the record. Others have made a stranger claim, because just a few years after Austin's terror ended, the Ripper murders began an ocean away in London. A handful of researchers have wondered whether the same hand could have moved from one city to the other. It's a chilling idea, and there has never been a shred of proof for it. The truth is, we don't know if the Annihilator was one man or several. We don't know if he died, moved on, or simply stopped. We don't even know his name. What we do know is that for one long, terrible year, a killer turned an entire American city into a place where no one slept soundly. And then he erased himself completely. He is one of the first serial killers in American history, and he is also one of the most forgotten, precisely because he was so good at leaving nothing behind. The young women he targeted deserved a name to blame, a face to fear, a reckoning. Instead, they got a nickname coined by a newspaperman and a case that went cold in the Texas dark. Somewhere in the story of old Austin, there's a moonlit yard, a set of boot prints, and a shadow that slipped away before dawn and never once looked back. If this forgotten case stayed with you, help pull it back into the light. Like this video and subscribe to Backcountry Files for the next cold case. Tell me below who you think he was and whether that road really led all the way to London, because some cases don't close, they just go cold.